Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something a bit different. We're looking at network security, but through a really interesting lens. We're using source material from NetSec Analyst exam practice questions. Our mission, for you listening, is to pull out the core practical knowledge hidden in these questions. Think of it like getting the essential insights into how networks are protected, without wading through dense manuals. It's your shortcut to being really well-informed on cybersecurity fundamentals.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is that these aren't just, academic exercises. These questions distill real-world challenges, the kinds of things network security pros grapple with daily. We're talking about the strategies they use to defend against, well, everything from brand new malware to stopping sensitive data leaks. These concepts are absolutely fundamental. The exam itself, yeah, it's proctored, multiple choice, 90 minutes, 60 questions, standard stuff. But the knowledge, that's the real gold. It's about the practical application.
Exactly, practical application. So let's start right there. Imagine you're the analyst. You're building out your defenses, creating a security profile group. When it comes to stopping malicious files like viruses or ransomware, which two profiles are absolutely essential, the non-negotiables.
Okay, good starting point. For protecting against harmful files, your two must-haves are wildfire analysis and file blocking. They really work together as a pair.
Wildfire analysis. That sounds pretty advanced. What does it actually do?
It is advanced. Think of it as a highly sophisticated cloud-based sandbox. Its main job is to catch unknown or suspicious files, the stuff nobody's seen before. It analyzes these files in a safe environment to see if they're malicious before they hit your network. So its real power is stopping new malware, zero-day threats, things like that. It's proactive.
Okay, so Wildfire handles the completely new stuff. What about file blocking then?
Right. File blocking is more about control over known quantities. It lets you define exactly which file types can come into or go out of your network. So you can block known dangerous types, like certain executables or scripts outright, or maybe just block file types that aren't needed for business, reducing the attack surface. It's crucial for stopping known threats from moving around or just managing risk by limiting what kinds of files are allowed at all.
So Wildfire tackles the unknown unknowns, and file blocking manages the known risks and specific file types. They cover different bases.
Precisely. A really strong synergy there. One looks for brand new threats, the other controls the pathways those threats might use.
Makes sense. Okay, so we have tools to inspect files. But let's zoom out a bit to the traffic flow itself. This is where things get really interesting, I think. Timing. When does the firewall actually decide whether to allow or deny a connection based on the main security policy rules? Like, at what point in the process?
Ah, yes, the timing is absolutely critical. And the principle is simple but powerful. Security policy rules are evaluated before the session is created.
Before. So, like, immediately.
Immediately. As soon as the very first packet from a potential connection arrives at the firewall looks at that packet's header information source, destination port, application ID maybe, and checks it against the security policy rules. There's no waiting for a full handshake or session setup.
And why is that so important? Why do it so early?
Efficiency and security. By checking right away, the firewall can instantly drop unwanted or malicious traffic. It doesn't waste resources setting up a session that's just going to be denied anyway. And crucially, it prevents that risky traffic from even getting a chance to establish a foothold or potentially exploit the session setup process itself. It's about stopping problems at the absolute earliest point, minimum exposure.
Right, stop it at the front door before it even rings the bell. Okay, so we've blocked incoming threats. We know how the basic allowed need decision happens early. But what about the other direction? Data leaving the network. That's a huge concern too. How do we stop sensitive stuff? Credit card numbers, internal documents, personal data from leaking out accidentally or, well, intentionally.
Data exfiltration. Yeah, a massive issue. For this, we rely heavily on data loss prevention, or DLP capabilities. And interestingly, two key profiles come into play here again: data filtering, and yes, file blocking makes another appearance, but used differently.
Okay, data filtering sounds relevant. How does that work?
Data filtering is about looking inside the data flow. It actively scans allowed outbound traffic for specific patterns you define. Think patterns that match credit card numbers, social security numbers, keywords like confidential, or even custom patterns for your company's sensitive information. If it finds a match in data trying to leave the network, it can block that specific transmission. It's content inspection for outbound traffic.
There's like a content-aware guard for data heading out.
Yeah.
And file blocking's role here.
File blocking complements it. In this context, it's used to control which types of files containing potentially sensitive data can leach. For example, you might block the upload of database files or large archives to personal cloud storage. Even if data filtering doesn't see a specific pattern inside a file, maybe it's encrypted or oddly formatted, file blocking can still prevent that type of file from leaving through unauthorized channels. It adds another layer, controlling the containers, while data filtering inspects the content. Together, they're vital for privacy, protecting IP, and hitting compliance mandates.
Got it. A double layer, checking the content itself and controlling the file types allowed out. Very thorough. Now let's tackle something that complicates all of this. Encryption. SSL/TLS. It's everywhere, great for privacy, but it basically creates blind spots for security inspection, right? So if you have an SSL/TLS decryption policy set up to try and inspect this traffic, but the firewall fails to decrypt a session for some reason, what happens then? What are its options?
That's the decryption dilemma, absolutely. If decryption fails, and it can fail for various reasons, like unsupported cipher suites, certificate issues, or even deliberate evasion attempts, the firewall can't just let the encrypted, uninspected traffic flow through. That defeats the purpose. So it generally has two primary actions it can take based on policy configuration: block the traffic or reset both client and server connections.
Block seems straightforward. Just stop it.
Yep. Block is the most security-conscious option. If we can't see inside, we don't let it pass. End of story. It ensures that the failure to decrypt doesn't create an exploitable gap in your defenses. The priority is maintaining the security posture.
And reset both. What does that do differently?
Reset both is a more active termination. The firewall sends TCP reset packets to both the client machine that initiated the connection and the server it was trying to reach. This effectively tears down the connection immediately from both ends. It ensures the failed session doesn't just hang open or potentially allow some uninspected data through before timing out. It's a clean, forceful stop. This raises an important question, really, about policy design. How do you handle these failures? Do you prioritize connection availability or enforce inspection rigorously? It's a balancing act.
A critical balancing act, definitely. You don't want encryption to become a shield for threats. Okay, this has been great drilling down into specifics. One last point of clarification that I think is really important. We've talked about security profiles like wildfire, file blocking, data filtering, and security policies. They sound similar. Can you just crystallize for us? What is the core purpose of a security profile? How does it fit with a security policy, especially for traffic the policy has already allowed?
Excellent question, because the distinction is fundamental to how these firewalls work. It's all about layers. The security policy is the first gatekeeper. Its job is to decide if traffic is allowed based on high-level criteria: source, destination, application, user, port. It makes the basic allow or deny decision.
Okay, so policy is the bouncer checking IDs at the door.
Exactly. Now, if the security policy says, okay, you're allowed in, that's where the security profile comes in. A security profile defines what happens to that allowed traffic. It dictates the inspection actions. So after the policy grants access, the assigned security profiles step in to perform deeper inspection on that specific flow. This is where the antivirus profile scans for malware, the anti-spyware profile looks for C2 communication, the vulnerability protection profile checks for exploits, and data filtering scans for sensitive data. The profile acts on traffic already permitted by the policy.
So policy allow deny decision, profile inspect control actions on allowed traffic.
Precisely. The policy opens the door, the profile inspects what comes through it. What's fascinating here is seeing how these distinct layers work together. It's not just on or off. It's a multi-stage process providing a much more nuanced and robust defense.
That clarifies it perfectly.
So looking ahead, say 5–10 years, what new challenges or fundamental shifts do you think these network security systems, the policies, the profiles, the analysis engines will need to adapt to? How might these core principles evolve? It's something to consider. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious, keep asking questions about how this all works.